Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Red Devils Talk, me, your host, Session Johnson, and of course, Man United transfer news. The transfer window, of course, is back open, and as much as Man United are dealing with the Mbumo deal, there is sales that need to be happening. So, let's focus on what players Man United need to be selling. So, of course, we know Rashford is a player that must be sold by Man United for obvious reasons. Garnacho, of course, is one of those players as well. Anthony, the three of them are, in my opinion, the players that we can bring in the most money for. Any other players we want to be selling, the likes of Palacia, maybe Casemiro, maybe Onana, maybe even Mason Mount. There has been a report that Aston Villa and Unai Emery are looking to make a move for Mason Mount. But as I said, Marcus Rashford has been flirting with Barcelona, continually wanting to keep his options open for them, even though they are chasing Nico Williams from Athletic Bilbao. He said in an interview he would love to play with the best players in the world, and this was asked based on how he feels playing with Lamine Yamal by any chance if the opportunity arises. This is another reason why he should be sold. It's not to say that he can have a return to Man United and there can be some sort of renaissance between him and Ruben Amorim. No, we need to be selling another toxic player, which is Marcus Rashford. And even though he is flirting with Barcelona, it's very, very difficult for clubs to sign players like him and, of course, Jadon Sancho because of the high salary that they are currently earning at Manchester United. And it's nothing for them to keep it out, stick it out at United and try and get a loan, which means United still have to pay their salary and, of course, the club that they get loaned to. Or they could simply just sit at home, not be part of the squad, and basically still earn their money, which is what Sancho did for quite a while under Erik ten Hag after they had a little bit of a feud on Twitter and, of course, in public with ten Hag saying what he said. But there is a difference with the way Anthony is looking at trying to leave Manchester United. He had a very good spell at Real Betis. Of course, we know he got to the Conference League final, which he lost to Chelsea. But other than that, he had a very, very good few performances at Real Betis and wants to make a permanent move there. The problem is they won't be able to pay as much as we want them to for Anthony. So we will be making a loss on a player like him and a player like Sancho, that will be looking to be sold. But Anthony is willing to lower his salary, take a 35% wage cut in order to make the move to Real Betis permanent and reignite his career. And that is the mentality, we want to have from a Rashford or a Sancho, but it's not going to happen. And whether Napoli, Galatasaray, might be wanting to look at Sancho, they are not willing to pay the wages that he wants to have. That's why the talks broke down with Chelsea, because of the wages that was offered to him that was not as high as Sancho would want it, which is a huge, huge problem. These are the players that we need to be selling. Now, Mason Mount, as I said, might be wanted by Aston Villa and Unai Emery, but again, another player we probably might look to be selling. But Ruben Amorim loves him as a player, loves his character, and for that regard, I don't think we'll be selling him. If a good enough offer comes in, there will have to be some consideration being done, for sure. We can't be looking to, keep players, but we are still able to not have them perform as well. We know Mason Mount hasn't really set the world alight at Man United. So if a good enough offer comes in, we must consider it. Maybe there could be a swap deal in place. Maybe bringing in a Ollie Watkins. As per the reports, Emiliano Martinez is the goalkeeper that Man United wants. But again, another report also came out by Mike McGrath where he said that Man United are not looking at Emiliano Martinez. So perhaps Onana is staying for another season. The same can be said for Mason Mount, who in his mind, and maybe by Ruben Amorim, wants to give him one more season. If he doesn't have any injuries, let's see what type of impact he can have with the squad in rotation with Acuna, Mbumo. While we are on Brian Mbumo, the deal is still currently being dealt with between Man United and Brentford. It has been said that the next bid to go in, it wants to be a bid from Man United that Brentford won't be rejecting, that they know it will be accepted, so that we can move forward and finally, get Brian Mbumo through the door. But on Mason Mount, he will have to rotate. with a Brian Mbumo, with an Amad Diallo who play in the 10. Mason, Kobe Mainu, also can play in the 10. So there will be options in the number 10 positions for Ruben Amorim. And there will be competition for places, which means Mason Mount must have a good season or a great season in order to either stay and be part of the squad for the following season, or we will have to look to move him on if he has injuries, if he doesn't perform to what we expect this season. So it's difficult. But in order for players to come in after Brian Mbumo is done, because I do think Man United will be signing Brian Mbumo. I don't have any worries on that particular transfer. It's the players that we need to be selling that is my concern. Now, I'm not panicking because there is a lot of time before the transfer window officially closes, at the end of August, 1st of September. But Man United need to be getting one or two players out of the door by now so that we can look to push on and maybe get the striker. The likes of Randall Kolo Muani has lately been linked to Man United. We know his time at PSG hasn't been great on loan to Juventus, but had a decent, a bit of form there while being on loan. Vlahovic, another Juventus striker that is being linked to Manchester United, again lost his place to Randall Kolo Muani, but before he went to Juventus, he was one of the players that was supposed to be potentially touted to reach an elite level, but it hasn't really worked out for him so far. It is another link towards Man United, which is normal. Man United is always linked to players every transfer window, and it will be players that Man United are absolutely not in for. So I only look at the reports that I feel are credible by those credible sources, the Fabrizios, David Ornsteins, Laurie Whitwells, etc. So we must be wary of the fact that after Brian Mbumo, a striker will be the focus for Manchester United. I do want us to look at midfielders, but again, I don't think that is as high as a priority as getting in a striker after Brian Mbumo. Victor Gyökeres, it's gone quiet on the front with regards to him and Manchester United. Victor Osimhen is, of course, still available. Jonathan David, it has been reported by the Manchester Evening News, the MEN, that he is putting Man United as his favoured place to go to and to sign for the Premier League, which is one of the options that he can look for. Whether Man United are in for him and whether they look to give him an offer, time will tell. It will only become quite evident once we do see the news, and of course you'll hear it here with me on Red Devils Talk. Thank you for joining me in today's video. So much that we got into, but Man United need to be looking to selling the right players in order for us to bring in more players. Subscribe to the channel, drop a like. Have a wonderful day further, Red Devils. Till we see each other again soon in the next one. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching. If you want more content on Manchester United, like, share and subscribe.